Right, I think I'm live again. Right, hello everyone. Right, today, the Torus. Right, where do we start? Well, hopefully someone will be sharing in the comments the images I'm going to be talking about today. So, the Torus. Where do we start? Okay, well, if you've got we'll start with the outside of the Torus. Now, like I say, it's going to be hard if I haven't got the images. If you go on my wall and have a look at the last post, it should. They're the images I'll be using. They'll be posted hopefully soon. Yes, Morgan. I need these images so you can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'll start anyway. So you've got to start with a torus, and remember the torus is an atom, or an atom is a torus, and a torus is the cell. So you just simply look at an atom as a cell, and once you do that, you'll understand that it's a torus. So the outside of the torus is what science will say are the electrons. So now remember, it's not round. Everybody draws the image of a torus like it's round, and it's not. It's a donut. The whole torus is a donut, and that's there's no arguing about it. That's the shape of a torus. And that's what it looks like. So on the outside of the torus, it'll go in waves around the torus. So if you imagine the flux lines, what science calls the electron, they're the flux lines that go from the bottom back round to the top. So just think waves. It's like that on the outside of the torus, and where it's the peak, where it comes back down into compression, that's where the flux line will be. That's what they are calling the electron. It's not an electron. It's not a thing. It's just the outside of the torus where energy is flowing from the bottom back round to the top and spiraling down the vortex of blue shift to the singularity point. So that's the electron. Right, now when you get to the centre of the cell, you've got the nucleus. The nucleus is the same as the cell. That's why it's called the nucleus. Nucleus simply means new sun. Right, now this is the part where we can completely destroy all physics and quantum physics. You would just completely destroy it. So you have to understand the plane of inertia. Yeah, I mean, that's what science is trying to work out. They can't work out. Nobody on the face of this earth will tell you this. No one. I don't care if people know the torus. Lots of people claim they know the torus. They claim they know the plane of inertia. That's because they've just heard it from somebody else. They haven't actually thought about it and looked in themselves to see how that would work. They're just repeating. And that's the difference to what I'll do. I'll just show you what it actually is. So, the plane of inertia and the cymatic pattern. Science will say that you've got a proton and an antiproton. So just think waves. Proton, that means positive energy. That's above the wave. Now, on the plane of inertia, now remember it's a cymatic pattern. Again, you have to look at the images to say cymatic pattern. Trying everything I can, but no option to do. Oh, well, if you can't share them, you can't share them. Anyone who wants to see the images will have to go to my wall, and then I've posted the images I'll be talking about today. I don't know how else to do it. I haven't got the images in there. Anyway, so the cymatic pattern. So yeah, the proton above the wave, and then you've got an antiproton. So the plane of inertia, proton. When it goes below the wave, it's an antiproton. So remember on my last live, I was talking about ley lines, how they rotate like that. Well, as they're rotating, the energy goes above the wave and then below. Above, proton, below, antiproton. Right, now we go to quantum physics. Now quantum physics says that it's, what it's called? Let's think. Up quarks and down quarks, that's it. So now I remember looking at a video on quantum physics. I'm like, what the fuck's an up quark? So an up quark and a down quark, again, is the energy flowing from flowing up and down the waves of the cymatic pattern. So you've got, when they talk about the electrons, the protons and neutrons or whatever's in the centre, they're just, again, cell division with bubbles sticking together. Remember, any form, so a lung or something like that, is a collection of bubbles stuck together to create that form. They're just bubbles of light that together will stick together, and then they'll create the 3D image of a lung. And your whole body grows like that. It grows separately in parts, and then it gradually grows up and separates. Then that will drop down or go up, depending what part of the body it is. And that's basically an atom. There's nothing more. And the gap, what they say is empty space in a gap, the gap between the centre and the outside of the electron, the outside of the atom. They're saying it's empty space. It's not. It's melon. It's liquid. It's fluid. There's no gaps. I mean, the only gap is in the very centre, and it's the air of the bubble, the nitrogen. That's the only gap in a cell or an atom. Everything else is fluid. And if it's not fluid, it's a bubble. And if it's a bubble, it's a bubble of light. That's the end of that. Everything else is just made up. So that's basically how it happens. But what you'll find is, the other problem you've got with it, trying to work out the torus, is why does it rotate? What gives the torus the energy to turn? Because you can see how a torus could just sit there. When I make the torus on the lid, it doesn't rotate. That's because I'm creating the torus using sound. But the torus itself isn't alive. I use washing up liquid and not melanin. So you actually need melanin on the source to be able to create it. So when I create on the lid, it doesn't rotate. So remember those around the outside of the torus where it goes up and then down and it creates waves around the outside of the torus. That's the zodiac. So the zodiac is just the flux lines around. So you have 12 flux lines going around, and that would be the zodiac. Now the zodiac itself is represented on 12 parts of the brain. So you've got 12 parts of the brain. I'll get back to the rotation. Well, in fact, I'll do the rotation first. I don't want to get lost. So the rotation of a torus is created through breath, right? How many of you can remember as a child having one of those spinning tops that you'd pull the handle up and push it down, push it up, pull it up and push it down, and it would start spinning and then make a whirring noise? That's the torus. That up and down is obviously you create electricity. How do you create electricity in you? I told you the other day, you take breath. So it's a breath. That makes the torus rotate. It's your breath that's doing it. So if you're doing exercise, then what you'll do is, keeping it short and not going for the full pattern, you'll have to breathe faster. The reason you're breathing faster is so the rotation of the torus can move faster, so you can create more electricity, so you can move. So that's how you create, well, that's the reason for the rotation. It's breath that creates the rotation of the torus, or the atom, if you like. So then we've got, what was I going to talk about? Yeah, the zodiac. So, what does the torus mean? Sorry, what does the zodiac mean for the brain? Well, the 12 tribes of Judah, it's the same thing. They're just 12 parts to the brain. And there's 3 at the front, 3 at the left, 3 at the back, and 3 to the right. 3, 6, 9, 12. The other 12 parts of the brain. Now, whatever your zodiac is, your zodiac sign, you're projected from a certain part of the brain. Yeah, so Gemini is actually near the front at the top. So that's where Gemini is. So I know where I'm projected from in the brain. Now, what was I going to say? I keep forgetting my thoughts now. I did have all this planned and it was going to take ages, but I've just said it really quickly. And I haven't been on very long, so I'll try to fill in the gaps. So where was that? Yeah, the brain. So basically that's what it is. Now, when you think of the torus, don't think of it like a man. You can't. If you do, you won't be able to work it out. You've got to think in multi-dimensional thought. You've got to think of all these different things at the same time. So it is hard to explain it because you've got to keep jumping from thing to thing to see the image. So if you imagine the cell is just the brain, or where we are is just the brain. Remember, it's just the nucleus, or the centre of the brain. Yeah, the nucleus. So then you have to understand how the zodiac's created in the first place. Now, again, we'll just go with cell division. So you start with one, the singularity point, or the creator of the one mind. That separates into two, the sun and the moon. After the sun and moon's created, then you get the rest of the luminaries. But the luminaries are simply the singularity point being separated in the frequencies of light. So red light at the bottom, blue light at the top. That's still from the centre being separated. So you've got the sun and moon first. And then you get the rest of the colours separated. And they are your chakras. But again, they're just projections of light. Now, in your body, they're all separated. Yeah, you've got blue at the top and red at the very bottom. But in the cell, it doesn't work like that. They each have their own turn as you go up the stages of the 9 levels of consciousness. So in the first stage, it's the frequency of red light. That's the projection, and it's from the lowest part, and then it goes obviously onto the plane. So the plane acts out the frequencies of red light. Now the waves, or the frequency, how many wavelengths you've got in the frequency of red light, they are the biggest waves, and there's not very many of them, and they make the first cymatic pattern. As you go through the chakras on the plane of inertia, or the Earth's plane, they'll keep changing every time you go through the chakras. So they'll go up in frequency. Hence why the waves get smaller and there's more of them. Hence the perception of time speeds up every time you go through the chakras. So the Earth plane changes every time the tone changes as you go through the chakras. So each wavelength has got a tone that goes with it. So, is this all making sense? I mean, it's simple in my head, but it's hard to get it out without the images to show what I'm actually talking about. So yeah, each chakra has its turn on the Earth's brain plane, and that's a consciousness at that time, and that represents the luminaries. Now, each luminary has a positive and negative aspect to it. So each one is then separated, and that is the zodiac. So the zodiac is simply the luminaries divided, and then that's how you get the 12 frequencies of the zodiac. That's all they are. So it's just cell division. Start with 1, go to 2, then you get the Ennead, or the 12 disciples, or whatever you want to call them. That's all it is. It goes from that to that to that to that. So that's basically how consciousness works, from 1, and then it's divided, and then divided again. Right. That's basically the atom. That's, I don't really know what else to say about the atom, because there's nothing to it. It's a cell. Do you know what I mean? And once you've worked that out, you just look at the atom. You just, what are you talking about? You're just talking utter nonsense. It doesn't work like that. So this is a brand new thought. I'll go with a new thought that I just worked out last night, or I was shown last night. And I couldn't sleep last night because this thought was in my head all night. It's all my brain was thinking about all night, and I couldn't get rid of it. So that's why I'm going to talk about it now, so I can just let the thought go. I had a question. When you're in the womb, where's your consciousness? I know that it's said that you're a tree and you're all these other animals, insects, spiders, everything. You're everything before you're you. And I couldn't work out how this would play out. How would that work? And last night I thought about it, and I was like, that's so blatantly obvious. So how it works, remember, everything, all consciousness, constantly throughout the life of the cell, is simply below the plane of inertia as bubbles of light. The only time consciousness gets projected out is into a vessel. So when you're in the womb of the mother, now remember, just fractals. So if you're in the womb of the mother, your consciousness is still below the plane of the cell, the universal cell. It's still below the plane as a consciousness. even though you're in the mother's womb. Your consciousness isn't in the womb. Well, it is, but again, it's fractals. So whatever's on the inside is on the outside. So if you're in the womb of the mother, you're still, as a consciousness, below the plane of inertia of the universal cell. You remember, you're in the waters. Yeah, so in the mother, you're still in the waters. So you're still below the plane of inertia. So that means throughout the pregnancy, whatever your frequency of the fetus, so let's say it's a low frequency and it's a Plaurian, yeah, so it's a single cell. Well, the projection, instead of being projected into the single cell in the egg, it's still projected out onto the earth, into a single cell. So somewhere on the earth, when you're in the womb, your consciousness will be in a single cell on the earth somewhere. Then it'll become an insect or something else, or a plant, or a tree. Your consciousness will then be projected into a plant, in a tree, and have its life. Remember, the consciousness from in the womb takes 16.4 billion years to evolve consciously. So you can't just think, well, how could I be a tree? There isn't enough time. I'm only there for 9 months. Well, no. Consciously, you're there for billions of years as a consciousness. So you'll be projected into, let's say, a tree, and that tree will have its life, but that's your consciousness in the womb still. The tree will have its life and it'll die. Your consciousness will then become the next fractal, the next frequency up in life. So you'll become another animal and another life form, until birth. Now remember, you are a collection. You're not an individual as yourself. You are, at the only point you're an individual, just a single cell, is when you are a single cell. That's when your consciousness is a single cell by itself. If it's not, then you're a collection of consciousnesses. You've got trillions of cells. Now remember, all it is bubbles of light sticking together. That's all it is, becoming something else. Because it gets denser and denser and denser, and the denser you get, the more life you're going to become, if you know what I mean. Higher frequencies. But at birth, so as soon as you come to the earth-brain plane and you're on your birth, at that point, your consciousness then gets projected from below up. And then as soon as you open your eyes, as soon as you go dink for the first time, that's when light enters your eyes and goes to the pineal gland and enlightens. That's when you're projected into you. Now at that point, you become the God, or the God. Yeah, you're the God of all those cells collectively. Now remember, they were just individuals at first, and now you yourself at birth are a universal cell. Just like Gaia is, or the universal cell, consciously. So you're now a collection of consciousnesses, just like the earth is. It's got all those life forms on it, but collectively they only make up one conscious, Gaia. Yeah, that's how it works. So you're a fractal of that. You're a collection of consciousnesses, all into one, and then you become the God of that cell, the universal cell that you are. And that's how important it is. So when you're too busy looking out and judging everything else, what you should be doing is remembering that you are a God and you've got trillions upon trillions of cells to govern over. So you shouldn't be looking out and judging everything else. You should be looking in and judging yourself for what kind of God are you to the universal cell that you reside over. Are you a good God? Are you a bad God? Do you treat your body well? Do you treat your cells good? Are you nice to them? Are you evil? What you do. Now remember, all these things that you do throughout your life are affecting all of these cells, and each one is a consciousness. You're responsible for all of those consciousnesses. So if you start doing negative things, then you're going to have to come back and learn your lessons as a God. And this is what the covenant is when you're in the womb. It's all about karma, again, and karma is just balancing energy. It's all about energy and balancing it. That's basically what all energy is, or karmic debt. Karmic debt is just balancing energy. If you think of ripples in a pond, it's got to rest. And when it rests, you stop making opinions. You stop having opinions. You stop judging things, and that will balance all karma. Right, I'm running out of things I was going to speak about. It's too easy to explain it. I need some more. Have I got any more questions? Anyone any questions? Because look. Wow, God, yeah. Any questions, man? Anyway, I'll think of something else. So yeah, that was the new thought I had anyway last night. So where your consciousness is in the womb. and then you're birthed as a god. Okay, well, I suppose I should cover the plasma event. Oh no, I wanted to touch on a few things about creation as well, because I missed quite a bit out, and I shouldn't have really. So I think everybody knows now the Garden of Eden is just the womb. That's all it is. I mean, and when you're in Eden, another hard thing to work out is what does the consciousness do in the womb, like on the earth-brain plane? What's it like? So the Atlanteans, so we'll go with the root races. The root races are associated with each luminary and each cymatic pattern on the earth. So when the Atlanteans were on the earth, it's the Plaurians, the Hyperboreans, Lemurians, and then the Atlanteans. So the Atlanteans are the fourth stage, right? And that's the sun. And what happened to Atlantis? It sank. Now, if you listen to old stories about, this is where everybody gets mixed up, because everybody thinks space is a thing. So when they said Mars was ruling, they say, oh, Martians came down. But Martians didn't come down. What actually happened was the Atlanteans that were, so you got the moon, Mercury and Venus. So the first three root races belong to those. The Atlanteans were fourth, the other sun. The sinking of Atlantis was the Great Flood. That was the birth of the sun. So the Great Flood was the sinking of Atlantis, and when the Martians took over, it was because Mars was next. And that's why Mars is looked as an old man's soul. Now, this is what happens with karma and when you get reincarnated. So if you haven't balanced your energy, you will continue to come back throughout the cell's life. Yeah, so individually, you keep coming back, you keep coming back, you keep coming back, you keep coming back, go through all those lessons all over again until you learn to balance your energy and remember who you are. But you'll also know that the last book, there was I think it was the Book of Thomas, or somebody was supposed to have wrote another book, and then God says, or the angel said, no, don't write that book yet. That's because it's for the end times, and you won't remember that story until the end times. Again, if you knew this information that I'm sharing now, at any point throughout your life, you would stop doing things. You would just stop. You will go, there's no point in that. Now, that would be a bit of a problem if everyone's supposed to have an experience, because everyone is the collective consciousness of Gaia, and she's still having her experience until death. And in the death process, the final seal will be revealed. So what's the final seal? This. What I'm sharing is the final truth. It's the final truth of who you are, what you are, why you're here, and the whole point in the universe. Now, if that was remembered at any point before the end times, again, you wouldn't live your life. So Gaia would just, everybody on Earth would go, there's no point. You'd be like me now. You just wouldn't do things. You just go, there's no point to it. You wouldn't play the game anymore. The illusion. So the illusion has to be there. It will always be there until the end days. Now, there's another pattern that I noticed. I noticed when my mum was dying. And then I did some research and I looked into it, and apparently it's a thing. So I remember my mum lying in the hospital bed, and for no reason she just went. She wasn't coherent. She wasn't like Octopus mentis. By this point, she had already travelled through most of the gates on the death process. You got to go through the 9 gates. So what she was actually doing, she just went for no reason. She just says she wanted to go home. And I went, look, I remember looking at my auntie and thinking, oh, fucking, where's home? What does she mean? I knew she didn't want to go home back to where she was living. It didn't seem like she was saying that. So in my head, she was wanting to go home to wherever home is, like outside of this consciousness. That's what it seemed like. But at this time, I wasn't awake, so I was just asking. I'm like, well, where's home? What's happening? Well, home is back to the mind. That's where home is. That's where we belong, and that's where we want to go. As soon as you stop going through the death process, you yearn to go home. I now, in the physical form, yearn not to be here. I don't want to be dead. I just don't like this shit. The whole game of life. I don't like it. I don't enjoy it anymore. I love things. I still love life. I still love animals. I still love people. I love souls. I still love all that. I still love enjoyment and all of these things. But I see the bigger picture, and I just don't see the point once you know that it's going through the death process and it's going to end in 2 years, especially you think, well, what's the point? Look, if people keep saying, well, Rob, what are you going to do if it doesn't end? Brilliant. It's great. That means I'll go forward all his knowledge and imagine all the inventions and everything we can make. But unfortunately, that's not what the pattern says. It's not. You can't have this knowledge throughout. It wouldn't work. It only works or is needed in the end and the very beginning. But in the very beginning, they're Plaurians and they're single cells. So we'll look at single cells. So who are the Plaurians? Well, the Plaurians are known as ethereal beings. They're more energy than they are matter. And these Plaurians that are so ethereal, look, they use 360 degrees of the zodiac. So therefore, we only use, by quantum science, we use 5 degrees of the zodiac. Those 5 degrees give us our senses. Now, can you imagine using 360 degrees at once? That's all the senses you could possibly have. So all the different senses of all the different animals all over the world, how they see reality through their senses, you'd have all of them in one. And that's the power of the Plaurians. So when you look at single cells and science says, oh, they've got no mind, they've got no brain, they're just... These are supreme beings. They use telepathy and telekinesis and psychokinesis, all of that they use. You know, the single cells don't speak. They don't need to. They are the mind. So single cells are like true creator gods. They are stem cells, if you like. They're the Christ. They are much more than we are. They know much more than we do. Science won't tell you that. But common sense and logic tells you that. I mean, okay, if I went to you now, make a human. Not make a human as in just have sex with somebody and let nature take its course. Now remember, this, it doesn't just work like that. It's got to be created consciously. So consciousness needs to create it. And that's what single cells do. I just find it amazing. Now these cells are all over the earth all of the time. I mean, you just don't think anything of it. You don't recognise them. So in the end of the Bible where it talks about the Nephilim, they look like grasshoppers, or we look like grasshoppers in our own sight. What does that actually mean? Well, you're the Nephilim. And who are you looking at? Single cells. Now remember, you're the cell. So you, the single cell, look like a grasshopper in your own sight. Because it is you. And that's what I interpret that means. What other parts of the Bible have I got? That's interesting. Single cells, the Plaurians. Okay, the Plaurians, we'll keep going with evolution, if you like. Evolution of consciousness, that is, not evolution science trait. So, evolution of consciousness. It goes from the Plaurians to the Hyperboreans. The Hyperboreans, it's right. The end of the Plaurians, well, they're just single cells. At the end of their reign, they become... There's no trace of the Plaurians, apparently. I think there's only one woman that I know of that's wrote about the Plaurians who spoke about them, things like that. I think, I'm not sure. But when you listen to the description of the Plaurians, they merge into the second root race. They just merge into them. That's because they become them. You've got single cells, and single cells become multiple cells, or a multiple celled organism. So you get a single cell, and the single cells stick together and become something else. And they are the Hyperboreans. And then you get the Plaurians, the Hyperboreans, Lemurians, they're next. Another thing, the Hyperboreans, the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, how was that, the Atlanteans? I can't think. Anyway, I will think of it in a second. They're not Aryan, well they are. So it's not Atlanteans. What it should be is Atlant-Arians. Aries is always first, so you go around the zodiac, you get back, and then you're going to become the next thing. So the root races are always Aryans. So the pole Aryans. And the reason it's called a pole is because if you look at the flat plane, I didn't do the Cymatic. Anyway, I did. So the flat plane, if you go to the Cymatic images and the Cymatic patterns, it's a list of images. It's just a white image and it's got circles on and a little pattern in the middle. They are the Cymatic patterns. The first one is just a circle with a circle in the middle and then a dot in the centre of that. That's the first Cymatic pattern. That's the first cell. Now, if you understand these Cymatic patterns, if you look at the very bottom of that list of Cymatic patterns, you'll see second or third from the left-hand side, you'll see it looks like cell division. It looks like a cell is dividing. That's because it is. So its sound creates all the stages of a cell. That cymatic pattern are the stages in a cell, and there's 7 stages in the cell, just like the luminaries or the chakras. So these 7 stages in the cell are human life, or you're going through the frequencies. So the universe follows the exact same pattern. Everything follows this pattern. And it's all done through sound, and it's all created on the plane of inertia through cymatic patterns. Cymatic patterns are what everybody is just completely disregarding who thinks they know the Torus. Everybody. And the cymatic pattern is, like I say, on the plane of inertia in the nucleus. Now, I really wish I had the images so I could describe it properly. It will change. I have got a friend who's going to be adding images to the videos at some point, but for now I'll just have to do it like this. I don't know where to start. I've lost my thoughts. So, Plaurians, Hyperboreans, the Atlanteans. So, have you seen the post I've done on the cephalopods? I've done a post on the octopus, the cephalopods. Right, this is something else I just found out the other day. It's important. You should know it, I suppose. So, I did a post on what the consciousness of touch actually was, and it turns out that octopus is the consciousness of touch. That's what it is. So when the octopus were ruling the earth, if you go to Norse, I think it is Norse mythology, I can't remember the name of the god. It was a cephalopod. Prometheus, no, was it? I think it's is it not Prometheus? Proteus, that's the one. Proteus, the god Proteus. Well, the god Proteus is cephalopods. It's the octopus, it's the squid, it's a cuttlefish, and it's the nautilus, and they are all sense of touch. And I don't know if I'll be able to do it like this. So that is, I can't do it. So that's the octopus. There's this little beak in the middle. It's just your hands. Your hands are the octopus. And there's the tentacles. And there's its beak in the centre. So that is the octopus. Your hands, your sense of touch. That's how I worked it out anyway. But the other thing that the octopus does, it changes form, but it also changes its colour. Now many people think, well, humans don't change colour. Because I got stuck on that myself. And I thought, oh, well, we don't really mimic that. Well, nah, we do. There was a study done in it was only 2018. I haven't wrote on this or posted anything about it. I've talked to a few friends about it, but I haven't went into detail. I only found out the other day. And apparently science has now worked out that your face changes colour. It's so subtle, your ego mind or your conscious mind doesn't see it. But your face changes colour depending on mood. And obviously mood's determined by frequencies and vibrations, which then control the blood flow, which then changes your colour. If your face, you can go, what was it? You go from reds to blues and things like this. Subtle places around your temples, the bottom, and your forehead. And again, shows that the octopus is part of man, which I just find simply amazing. So yeah, the cephalopods, or other animals, all of them make up the human vessel individually. All those parts, all these animals. I know that you think there's trillions and trillions, or is there trillions? I don't know. Billions of different animals on the earth. But, I mean, you've got lots of different parts of the body. Individually, they're individual cells, but then they've got to come to a collection of cells, and then they will become an organ, or another body part, if you like. Like, I think that, I won't go into too much detail about that. So, yeah. Animals make up the cells of the body. Which, again, people need to know. You need to stop eating flesh. Just apart from the adrenochrome and the addiction that everybody's under, eating meat, think about it. Would you eat your child? You can't, no, that's sick. Why wouldn't you eat your child? Because it's part of me and it's a life. I wouldn't do that. All life is a part of you. There is no life that isn't a part of you. And when you speak of flesh, the original meaning for the word flesh, not meat. Meat's an English word, it is hypnosis. In the one word, meat, there's two other words. And that's why you eat meat. Eat me. Meat. It's not meat. You don't eat meat. Meat's not meant to be ate. What you're supposed to do is eat flesh. Now, if you look up the meaning of the word flesh, you'll see that it actually means a plant. The flesh of a plant. That's what you're supposed to eat. Not meat. And that's just in the Bible. Now, you can argue this as well if you want. But you're not supposed to eat meat at all. You're supposed to eat the flesh of a plant. That's why you have vegetable. It's in the name. Again, you're supposed to eat from above and below the plane. You need to be balanced. So people talking about eating fruit. I need to be fruitarian, sir. No. Fruit is above the plane and it's at the top of a plant and it's blue shift. Root vegetables are for below the plane and then negatively, well, not negatively charged, but you need both. You need to be balanced. You always need to be middle. Now, breatharians. Could you be... Now, I don't know. Because I've only got people who claim to be breatharians. And I don't know if they're eating things or not. They can claim anything they want. I don't know if they're telling the truth. So the only way I would ever know is if I done it. But what you can do is go, okay, then we'll just use logic and work out why would you want to be a breatharian? Well, food is an addiction and it's a habit. It is a habit. Once you stop eating, you'll realise, or just cut down on food, you'll realise you don't need as much food as you actually think you do. You don't. And then the things you put in, people keep focusing on these things. Right, the best way to think about it is, okay, let's just say all food's gone. There's no food. The system's collapsed now. We've still got a year left, say. What are you going to do? There's no food. What are you going to eat? You can't scrounge things. The plants are dying left, right and centre. And there's literally no food to eat at all. Most people, or most humans, will think, shit, we're going to die. That one thought will ensure you die. You have to be able to see beyond it. I see people are coming and going. I don't know if that's because I keep talking about nonsense. Right, so, breatharians. Okay, we also know that food is for heat. So, breath is how we make electricity. So, unless you're doing a certain breathing technique, or it's known as the Wim Hof now, but it's not. The breathing technique's been known for years in the East. And it is, I don't know if it's a yoga technique, but it is a technique that's been known for a while. It's called the dragon breath, I think, like something like that. And it is to create heat. So you can create heat through the breath. You don't need to create heat through eating, right? Now, if we only need fuel to keep warm, and then you don't need that fuel to keep warm because you can control it through breath, and the breath will control heat. That's why the Wim Hof is able to dive in cold waters and survive and all the rest of it. That's why. Because you're creating heat through the breath, like I say, it's creating energy that you're not using. So up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, forcing that nitrogen in the blood, creating a lot of electricity, but you're not using electricity. Normally you would breathe like that when you're running, so you'd use the energy, but you're not using it. So it warms you up, it creates more energy. And again, you can go into breath and then work out what breath actually for and how, if you go really deep into it, nitrogen or thought waves are in breath, right? Frequencies of thoughts are in the air. That's what we breathe. That's what that electricity is. Okay, we'll go on. We'll touch on another subject in a second when I've done this. We'll touch on how we absorb energy from the atmosphere. And everybody thinks you've got to pay for electricity and all this natural gas and all this bull. Fossil fuels, again, it's a myth. It's not true. So anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Breath, creating breath and energy. I just want to leave that actually. Oh, I completely forgot what I was lost. I've lost what I was saying. Now, even when I do this now, I'm thinking, I just want to stop. I just want to stop talking now. And I know I can't, so I want to continue. Right, what was I thinking about? Breatharians. Breathing, eating. Oh. Okay, so there's no food. What are you going to do when there's no food, right? So it's the belief, right? You need to focus on belief as well. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Yeah, I'm sorry about this because I keep getting lost in my own thoughts. There's so much I want to cover. And I know I'm going to go down a tree trunk and go off on a branch. And it's really hard. It actually makes us sweat now because I'm thinking, I'm stuck, I don't know what to say. I want to really go back to the atom, really is what I want to do. And then completely slap that out. But I don't know what else to say about it. It's so simple. I don't know if I should just stop talking and start again. Oh, God. Right. So, what was I talking about before? Energy being created. Breath. Oh, I've completely lost that thought. Can anyone remind us? Can anyone tell us what I was talking about? Oh, what's that? Sorry about this. Like, I'll try to keep going a second. Free energy. That's the one. Well done. Thanks for that. Right, free energy. Yeah. Well, I worked out years ago that we shouldn't pay for energy. Once you realise that energy is in the atmosphere constantly, all the time, and all you need to do is create a torus. And the torus, with the blue shift vortex, will suck energy in. I'm going to cover a few things with this. So, high tension cables is what they've done. Pylons. Pylons don't transfer energy from one place to the next. I've watched videos on this as well. So, this is the latest on how you create free energy or how you absorb free energy. High tension cables, energy doesn't just flow from a cable radiating out, it's also absorbed in. So these high tension cables, these pylons, hanging in the air, why don't they bury them? Why don't they bury all these cables? They do all the other cables, why don't they bury pylons? Why don't they build new pylons? Why are pylons just there and that's it? Why don't they change them? Why don't they put them somewhere else? Because they can't. Those pylons are in a specific area, and some pylons just stop. They don't go anywhere. They just stop. So if you go on Google Earth and look for pylons and see what the pylons are actually doing. The pylons are absorbing energy, but because man grew and we kept growing, we also need more energy and more energy. So the Tower of Babel back in the day, it was just to harness energy. So again, think of erections and think of a penis and think of how you're going to get the energy. So an erect penis, a tall building. So think of all this. Why have we got skyscrapers? Why? Yeah, in some cities you could argue the case and say we need to build up because there isn't enough room. What? The height that they do. Why? The higher you go, the higher the frequencies. Now remember those circles that surround the earth? Each one's a level of consciousness. Each one's a wavelength of frequency. And the higher you go, the higher the energy. So they made massive skyscrapers and just put a big point at the top. It'll have a ball in it somewhere, and that ball will be a little torus, and they just absorb all the energy. And the energy will go down, go along, and go into the grid. And they just absorb the energy. Nuclear power is a myth. It's horse shit, right? There's no nuclear power. So the atom bomb, lies, all lies. So what's the splitting of the atom? Well, the atom's a cell. So what would you call splitting a cell? Personally, I would call that cell division. So when they're talking about splitting the atom, they're talking about cell division. They're lying to your face. So nuclear energy, which they say is done through uranium in water. The water heats up, creates steam, and then they use the steam to create electricity. So how many people have heard of the metal radium? there's a metal called radium. And as far as I know, I've only seen some research done on this, so not that much. But radium was the metal that was used in all the old ornate fireplaces that used to be around in people's buildings and houses and things like that. An ornate radium fireplace. Just look up radium and you'll see what I'm saying. So I think radium is what they are saying is uranium. And they use radium because if you look up what's supposed to happen to radium, don't get us wrong, this is not like it's not known about. There's adverts and papers that people have done research on and found all this evidence to say that this stuff was sold around the world as a thing. So the thing about radium, if I can remember correctly, you put a little bit of heat in and it gives off more heat out. Something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'm sure you put a little bit of heat on it and then it'll radiate more heat than you're putting into it. And it lasts for ages. So if you think about this, and it's called radium. Radiating. So if this metal is a thing, and this radium is a thing, then it would make sense that they're using radium to heat, or what they're saying is uranium, they're using radium to heat water to create the steam, and then they just tell you it's nuclear power. You know they're lying, this right? There's no nuclear radiation that can give you cancer. It's bullshit. Any cancer you create yourself is just a block of energy. It's nonsense. It's all of it. It's nonsense. It's all bull. So there's no nuclear radiation as a poison. It's not true. And if you want to prove this to yourself, go to Chernobyl. Right? Not literally go to Chernobyl. Just go on YouTube or whatever and look at Chernobyl and look at the biggest wildlife reserve on Earth. Because people don't go there. So man doesn't touch the animals. So it's an ecosystem that shouldn't be there for a start because of the radiation and everything should have died out. But no, animals are thriving there. Loads of wolves and all these wild animals. How? Where's all this radiation that's killing people and you can't go near it? They're all full of shit. There is not one country on this earth that isn't involved in this lie. None. They're all of it. They're all run by the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians run the world. They're all of them. They all know the truth. They all knew the mysteries and then kept it for themselves and didn't share it. But unfortunately, doing that means there's only a select few got the mysteries and they're only getting them by being told what they were. And the problem with that is you will never ever know the truth yourself within you. And that's why I say you don't need to worry about the elite or any of them because they do not know the full truth. That full truth will only be revealed in the end times and this is it. Yeah, I've got other people sharing a lot of things around the world and a lot of people sharing truths. But to the extent that I've recalled the entire pattern, there isn't nobody else. That I've found, no one. Again, this is so hard without images. It's much easier when you've got images because then you can just point. And again, when I'm talking, I don't focus like I do when I'm writing. When I'm writing, I've got to focus on a particular subject, do all the research I need to get all the information I need, then to write it in a certain simple way, and then do the post on it. But when I'm talking about it, obviously I haven't just done all that research. I mean, it's all in your head, but I've got to recall it in stages. I've got to recall the pattern to remember the next stage, if you know what I mean. I can't just remember everything at once. So I've got to focus and then follow the pattern. And if I go off any branch, I'll get myself lost. And when I'm writing, that doesn't matter. I can take all the time I want. Doing it live is a lot harder. So that's how they get free energy. Energy is not created. It's bullshit. They're telling lies. They might need excess energy because the pylons wasn't enough for all the energy that we're using. Hence why they build more and more buildings. Everybody knows satellites are just hot air balloons or helium-filled balloons floating around in the stratosphere. Oh, I know all I'll touch on. Right. So Torus is on the ground. There's a new video out, a video channel. It's always live on YouTube. I can't remember the name of it. And they talk about angels and angels on the ground. Well, no, the Tauruses. Right, so the other day on the other talk I was doing, and I talk about ley lines and how you get a volcano or a Taur. And someone was questioning us later on about what did they hijack all these places, right? Again, you've got to see it above from what you think it should be. So when you use Google Earth and you zoom out and you see all these places on Earth, like star forts and things like that, right? A star fort is an astrocyte. The way you work this out, you just Google star-shaped cells in the brain. I didn't know if there was going to be any. And then it says, yes, there is. They're called astrocytes. Are they? Great. So astrocytes, so you read the description of an astrocyte and see what it does and how it works. And then you'll see that an astrocyte are star forts. You'll see a star fort, but again, you've got to work out what all these things are on the Earth. And until you work out that all these tors, right, so everywhere you've got these hills and they've got a little castle or some military base on all these things, that is the centre of a cell on the plane of inertia. If you go to the Isle of Man, you'll see it much easier. I've done a post on this as well. If you go to the Isle of Man, you can actually see the nucleus of the cell is a hill. You can see it. It's even got the holes in the firmament, right? It's there. You can see it. And it's on the ground and it's a hill. Now, around it, you'll see the mitochondria. You'll see all the parts of the cell are actually there on the ground. That tells you that the whole Earth's surface is made up of cells. Same as everything else. An atom is a cell. So the whole Earth's surface is cells. Everything. And where all these places are, these important sites on Earth, or that's on a tor or on a hill, they are the brain of the cell. That is the nucleus of the cell. And people say, why do they harness it? Again, all these cells are connected along ley lines. So that'll be the nerve ends. We call them roads and highways and things like that. Well, they are connecting because you've got to understand what man actually is. Man is the keeper and the upkeeper of these cells. You don't know you are. You just individually think you have in your life, oh, I'm a farmer, or I'm a miner, or I do this and I do that. And their ego claims that's you living your lie and not being aware of what you're actually doing as a god, taking care of cells on the face of the earth. That's what you're actually doing. But you don't realise you're doing this. But that's what's happening. So man is the caretaker or the god of the universal cell. We actually build the cells. So when you build a big building, you're building your penises, but it's always the brain as well. Everything on the Earth brain plane is about the brain. So it's in the brain. So like I say, astrocytes were the early... So pyramids... All these things go in stages. So you look at pyramids and you've got to, again, go to Google and just Google pyramid-shaped cells in the brain. And there is. And they're called pyramidal cells. Okay, so what's a pyramidal cell for? Google that. A pyramidal cell is to send information to the upper part of the brain. And they're only there in the early stages of the creation of the child. Well, that tells you why we don't use pyramids now. Yeah, we don't have any use for them because for the early stages. So, who built the pyramids? When you go back to the early stages of man, again, you can't think of man always being animals and being only being man after your birth. There will still be a consciousness of a human in the womb at some point, because when the Atlanteans, they were humans, they were in the womb and on the outside. So the Great Flood was with the Atlanteans. So it's easy to work out when you can see the pattern. I've lost my train of thought again. So yeah, the Plaurians, I don't know. It could have been the cephalopods. It could have been Octopus. I don't know. Were the pyramids built in water? I don't know if they were built on land or in water. I don't know. Memory doesn't go that far back. As a physical memory, anyway. So yeah, you can debate that if you want. I just move on. So pyramidal cells, star forts or astrocytes, they are all different stages of man on Earth doing different things, but always harnessing the energy of the singularity point of the centre of the torus, which will be the brain. So star forts or astrocytes have got a hole in the centre, and it says according to science, the astrocyte, there's a hole in the wherever they are. There's a hole. They say there's a hole or some damage. That's what they say in science. Then they say scar tissue builds up around the damage. Well, that scar tissue is the star fort. There's massive walls. That's what they are. So science will call it scar tissue, but what's actually happening is you're building a structure to withstand what? I don't know. It could be the oncoming plasma event. It could be the oncoming tsunamis. I don't know why they're protected the way they were. I don't know if they had wars. I don't know. But that's what they are. Like I said, I don't want to go too far to that either because I've done posts on that. So what was I going to say? Okay, I'll touch on the plasma event as well. So what's going to happen in the very end? Right, remember, the earth brain plane is also the testicles. So hell is the testicles. That's where hell is. You just go to the Bible. There is part of the Bible that you will see this is written. And you don't realise, when they're talking about hell, that's what they're actually talking about. It's in the testicles. If you go to the book of Enoch, that's how you work it out. Enoch goes to, he gets taken up and he goes to these heavens. Well, the heavens he's going to are the chakras. The other heavens that Enoch gets taken to and sees all these different things. So he's seeing the consciousness of his cell play out from a conscious point. So when Enoch was taken up, he was taken up within himself and seeing it in his head. That's how we've seen it. Didn't actually get taken up and then come back, and it didn't happen. So in the book of Enoch, it explains what these. It describes these heavens. It describes them. It once describes as a good place, and then another once described as not a good place. And all these souls are screaming and held and chained in torture. Okay, go and look at what happens to sperm cells. See how sperm are stored in the testicles, and you'll see it's the same thing. It's talking about the same thing. And also in the Bible, it talks about, and again, you will not hear this anywhere else, right? But in the Bible, just Google it. The screaming of souls and the gnashing of teeth. So that's the screaming of souls and the gnashing of teeth. You've got Bible experts trying to work out what this means. And they're all telling you what it means. It means this, it means that. Bullshit. I'll tell you what it means. Oral sex. That's what it's talking about. So if the Christ is swallowed during oral sex, then you understand the screaming, and the gnashing of teeth. That's what I think that's talking about, oral sex then. So the plasma event in the end times. So again, to be able to work it out, I spent a lot of years trying to work out where people had to go. I just didn't know. I'm like, well, I know you got to get somewhere because it's the gathering. And I knew the gathering because I had this word in my head for years and years and years and I didn't know what it meant. So I'm like, what's this gathering? Why does this thought keep coming back? Well, the gathering is the sperm. It's the gathering of the sperm in the end before ejaculation. Now again, imagine you're in the testicles and the sperm are the people. So you've got man all over the earth. And we are the sperm cells. The squatting man, that's been recorded in history, the squatting man, or the father if you like, is going to come back during the plasma event. That's what the father is. It's the plasma, it's electricity, it's energy. So the squatting man is a man. It's the father. And if you look at the shape of the squatting man, it's recorded in geoglyphs all over the world, right? So you've got these images of a squatting man and it looks like a man. That's because it is. Energy-wise. And at the bottom of the squatting man, you can see he's got a little penis. Or testicles. So, let's just think logically. If you're in hell and you're in the testicles and you're waiting for it to be ejaculated, where would you go? Where would you need to be? Well, the penis is in the centre, the testicles on either side. So you know you're going to get drawn up and then go through the centre. So in my head, we need to get to the centre of the plane. Problem is, there's no true maps, there's only the globe, and trying to work out where the centre is extremely hard. You think it'd be easy, but it's not, because it's not what you think it is. When people think, oh, it's the North Pole. No. The North Pole was the first, and it was on the plane, but now that's moved up. We've moved up through the chakras, so though it was at the bottom, it's now moved up. So, I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, so it isn't the North Pole. You need to be the centre of the plane, which is going to be... Okay, I'll tell you where I think it actually is. I thought it was Israel, and it had to be in Israel. But since then, I've got the old image of Africa, and it shows where Holy Mount Zion is. Holy Mount Zion is the penis. If you look at it, you see it's not there, and then it's there. And it's got Holy Mount Zion, it's got a crown on it, and it says, the New Jerusalem, the New World. So you know that the Holy Mount Zion is going to be the penis. Now, where that, on the map where it shows you, is the end of the Nile. You know, you got the peninsula, is it the peninsula? It's right at the very top of Africa. And it's where the Nile comes out. It goes onto a delta. And it comes out this delta, and then it goes into the Med. Well, it's like this big arc of land, and it's green. That's where Mount Zion's supposed to grow again. Holy Mount Zion. Remember, holy. The whole of the penis. So that's why it's Holy Mount Zion. Holy Mary. When I said that below the plane, the consciousness, below the plane, the moon, the Holy Mary. Mary's the vagina. The hole is the hole in the vagina. That's why I say you can call it what you want, but it is the vagina. And the sun is the penis. And that's Osiris. Oh, right, that's another thing I want to touch on. I've been watching a lot of videos. You might have seen, I think it's Flocker or Flocker TV, something like that, a YouTube channel. And he talks about Yanis. Oh man, he talks about Yanis a lot. And he thinks he's got something. Oh, look at this, it comes to number 11. Again, it's Yanis. You're like, sweet Christ, let go of Yanis, man. You don't even know who Yanis is. You keep talking about it, but you don't know actually what it is. So, who is Yanis and what is it? Well, if you go back to the Book of the Dead, and you look and see who Osiris is, Osiris represents the penis. We're the Christ, so who's going to choose, or if it was a body part, what body part controls where the sperm go? The penis does. The penis can squirt you into a sock, into somebody's mouth, or into a vagina, into an egg. Right? The penis does this. So Osiris dictates where the sperm, man, are going to go. The Pope, the fake man, the fake dick, is pretending to be Osiris. That's why the Pope is dictating what happens to all the souls. So you've got a choice. Do you listen to that man over there that's just the same as you? Is he Osiris? Or are you Osiris? Now, if you're Osiris, remember you're the penis and the sperm. So you've got to take control of yourself. You don't listen to the Pope. You listen to the Osiris, the pineal gland in your head. So you are Osiris. You are all these things. They are all in you. You've got the monarch. The crown's the top of your head. Yeah? It's all about you. It's not about other people. They are theirs as well, but they definitely don't have power over you. You've got all this within you. So you're the creator. So this is your power. And another thing I'll touch on. The pituitary gland and the pineal gland in your head. Who are they? What are they? What is consciousness? And how does it work? Science talks a lot of shit. So, what's consciousness? Like I said, it's light. Light is consciousness. So, you've got the pituitary gland, which is it's at the front of your head. The massa media, or the singularity point, is in the centre. The pituitary gland's at the front, and the pineal gland's at the back. The pineal gland's slightly higher than the pituitary gland. Yeah, it's offset. One slightly higher and one slightly lower. That's because the pituitary gland is in the waters. The pineal gland is in the air. They're both projected out, but this is how it works. So, we also know that the pituitary gland is first. That makes it the monarch, or the moon arc. So the arc of the moon, remember, they're all circles. And every time the light is at the zenith, that's when it rules the Earth-brain plane. Like I say, Saturn was there, now Saturn's gone, and it's now the firmament's turning and the prima mobile in the last one. So, I forgot what I was saying. Consciousness, right? So, yeah. So the moon arc, so you've got the one mind first, the singularity point. So that's the one mind, that's consciousness. It then goes to the moon arc. And the monarch is your pituitary gland. And the pituitary gland is slightly below the plane, in the earth-brain plane. So it's slightly below, in the waters, below, subconscious. conscious above. The monarch, the pituitary gland, is first and it's below. So the monarch is first. So your pituitary gland is your subconscious, and then you've got your conscious mind. You're only ever aware of your conscious mind. You only ever, if you're awake, you use your ego. When you close your eyes, you use the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland controls everything the ego does. Everything. It gives you it tells you your life script. You're unaware of it, but that's what it's doing. And it takes a while to work this out, mind you. Again, nobody else is going to tell you this. So, under hypnosis, which is actually hypnosis. Hyper is just really fast. Gnosis is knowledge. So, how you give yourself fast knowledge. And this is how you do it. This is the biggest secret. I worked this out when I was young. At 21, I worked this out, but I was just Rob. How was I going to change the world using this? So I didn't. But this is what it actually is. So you've got the monarch, or the pituitary gland, your subconscious. Under hypnosis, you notice everybody goes in a trance, a hypnotic state, and the eyes close. What they've actually done, they've shut the conscious brain down, the ego, the pineal. You shut that down. You just shut up and you switch it off. At that point, the only thing that's listening is the pituitary gland. Now remember, the monarch gives orders to everyone else. That's why the queen rules. The monarch. She's telling everybody else what to do. So the monarch tells the pineal gland, the slave, what to do, the ego. So that happens in all your thoughts all the time. The monarch's telling your ego what to do. So your ego listens. So one part of your brain listens and one part speaks. The subconscious speaks to the consciousness and tells it what to do. So under hypnosis, they shut the conscious brain down and they tell the subconscious what to do. So the hypnotist will give instructions to the pineal, to the pituitary gland, the subconscious, the monarch. So he'll tell the monarch things, and then the monarch will give instructions to the pineal gland, the ego. Now, just like you have thoughts and you're unaware that that thought has come from your subconscious first. There's a delay. But it comes from your subconscious first, and then you'll just be aware of it. You go, oh, a thought just entered my head. Well, it hasn't just entered your head. It entered your head a while ago, and your pituitary gland got it first, and the pituitary gland told you what to do. Under self-hypnosis, so you've got self-hypnosis and hetero-hypnosis. Hetero-hypnosis is when somebody hypnotizes you and gives you instructions. You need to get away from that. You want self-hypnosis, so you do it to yourself. You shut your conscious brain down, and then you give instructions to your subconscious. You tell yourself suggestions. What do you want to tell yourself? Tell yourself that you want to remember the secrets of the whole entire universe. And then that thought will enter your subconscious, and then that subconscious will then tell the consciousness its answers. So you become the one mind, and then you can give instructions to whatever it is. Let's say you've got a cancer. Yeah, let's say you've got a cancer. I won't get into details of what cancer is. It's just a blockage of energy and all the rest of it. Or it's stuck at a certain tone, and you need to change that tone. You can use outside stuff in, you can. But again, it's always 100% of the time based on belief. It's your belief in yourself to cure any disease. When people are cured of things, it's because they believe whatever it was that they were doing was curing them. It was their belief that cured them. So, like, I don't want to shit on anything. So, right, I've got a friend who uses a Rife machine. Now, like I said, I don't want to destroy anyone's illusions and that, so, well, I'll just tell the truth. So you've got the Rife machine. The Rife machine gives off frequencies, and the frequencies go into your body and you can heal. Now, let's just say that the Rife machine is a stick. It's this pencil. That's now the Rife machine. And all I've got to do is show you evidence that this pencil can cure cancer. Right? I can show you evidence of it. Look, that's the proof. Look, they had cancer. They used this pencil, they held it, and then they were cured of cancer. If I can convince you enough of that, right, that's going to happen, and this will cure you, and you just got to hold this pencil, then your belief that this pencil will cure you will cure you. That's how you cure yourself. It's self-belief. It's your intent and your belief in something that will cure you. You know this simply by the placebo effect. The fact that the placebo effect is a thing tells you everything you need to know about self-healing. All disease is created through fear and all the other things that you're doing to yourself. People will say it's food and it's all these other things. Again, these foods affect your thoughts. They affect your thinking and how you think about yourself and the belief you put in other people when other people telling you that there's something wrong with you. Smoking gives you cancer. Does it? Oh no. I'm going to get cancer now. Well, you will. Why? Because you believe what they've just said. So you need to stop believing the shit that people keep putting into your head. It's bullshit. All them beliefs will create all the effects of what's happening in your life. Because you're putting belief in other people. Their egos, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and they don't know who they are. Stop listening to them. Listen to the voice in your head. Not the ego voice. Don't listen to the ego. If you've got any fear or any doubt or anything like that, that's the ego. Don't listen to that. Talk shit. I don't know how long I've been going. Right, is there any questions? But should we also heal in accordance with the life lessons? Do you always heal instantly? You can heal instantly, but most people won't because, again, it's progression. The reason things don't happen instantly is because it's following a wavelength. It's got to start somewhere and then it's got to progress to get to there. And in the meantime, you're healing. Right? So you've got to start at one point and then get to the end. Generally, you've got to go around the zodiac. So you have a thought and the thought will go all the way around the zodiac, come back, and then you get your answer. That's generally what's happening. The energy goes around your brain. Right, in the brain, I was going to talk about the zodiac there and how the pineal gland controls all that, but we won't get into that detail. Okay, weather. How does weather work on the earth? So, oh, it's a bit of a long one actually. Because you've got to know about a few things before you can work out how weather works and what weather is. But you need to know that Torus is on the ground are what controls weather. It's the rotations. So the rotation of the whole prima mobile, the full turning of the full universe, the Torus, that whole rotation, whatever direction it's going in, that rotation is what creates all other rotations everywhere. They're all following that one rotation of the Torus. Then it goes down smaller and smaller and smaller, but everything will follow that same rotation. It's like if you jumped into a whirlpool, you would start turning with the whirlpool. So on, like I say, when you get a Tor or a Torus on land where the ley lines cross and they'll start to rotate, that starts to draw energy in. Yeah, there is a part where the singularity point that's squirting out, but again, that part where it's squirting out will then go up in the atmosphere and it's still rotating. Then magnetism, I don't like using magnetism, but a cloud will come along and it's drawn. We can't see this energy. We just think, oh, things are just moving because they are. They're not. They're getting drawn to this rotation. And then a cloud will form on the top. So you'll always see they go, oh, thermals, thermal vents. What birds use and gliders use, these thermals. Well, what do you think that spiral is? That spiral is coming from a Torus on the ground. The Torus on the ground is created from a resonance. So the resonance will then create a Torus. The Torus will rotate. That'll give this spiral, that vortex. Now that vortex, we won't go into that. So that vortex goes up and it'll draw other things in to that vortex. And the cloud will form, the cloud will drift away. Another cloud's a load of energy. But if it comes along to another Torus that's in the air, it will start to rotate again. And if it gets big enough, the whole cloud system, which will become a supercell, will begin to rotate. And the more energy it's got, the more powerful it becomes, the more rain is able to fall down and all the rest of it. That's basically how weather works. But then, to be able to understand it properly, you need to know about how air, we'll just use air, not nitrogen, but we'll just use air. How air is soluble in water. The only way you're going to be able to see this is when you go to YouTube, look up videos on a vacuum chamber. I seen this once, right? It was this lad, he had a vacuum chamber and he was showing you how you could boil water. And I'm like, boil water in a vacuum chamber, how's that work? Didn't make no sense. So you had some water in, you had thermometers and all this to show it was cold, but it was still boiling. And I'm like, well, it's not fucking boiling. That's obvious what's happening there. So he took all the pressure out, right? And then he had this glass of water. And then the glass of water boiled, and then it froze. Then he puts the air back in, puts the pressure back in. That ice, though it's been really cold, you had a thermometer and that, it's still ice, it still stays ice. But the air will go back into the water again. And that was what I had seen. And that's all I needed to see to work it out. So I'm like, hang on a minute. Pressure. Right? So we've got air pressure or atmospheric pressure. Gravity is what science will call it. So you've got this atmospheric pressure pushing down all the time. Remember, you've got the vortex of blue shifts pushing energy down all the time. And that creates the pressure that we're under. Atmospheric pressure. So that air that's pressurized now, because it's got a weight to it. I mean, it's got a volume. So it's weighing down. There's the water. Now remember rotation. So that nitrogen, or that air, gets forced once it's mixed into the water. And it stays in the water. That's the important part. It stays there. So that's how you get oxygenated water. So all oxygenated water on the earth is only got oxygen in it, or nitrogen in it, because of pressure. Take away that pressure, the air starts to come out of the water. It boils, but it's the water, the air that's tiny, microscopic little tiny bubbles. Trillions of them, trillions and trillions of these little tiny bubbles are in the water. You can't even see them. They're so small, but they're still there. It's tiny little bubbles. And when you take that pressure away, those bubbles are able to escape. Now, what does that mean? Okay. Why we got snow on the top of a mountain? Why? Science will give you all these reasons. It's not. The higher you go, the less pressure there is. The less pressure there is, the less the air can stay in the water. When you take the oxygen out of the water, or the nitrogen or the air out of the water freezes. So that's why you've got snow on the top of a mountain. There's less pressure. The less pressure there is, the less the air can stay in the liquid. And if there's no air in the liquid, it will freeze. So that's how, that's how water stays, or air stays in water. It's because of air pressure. Now that one thing tells you a lot about why water, when ice is white, if you can say white ice, is because it's got bubbles in it still. And they didn't escape. If there was no oxygen in, or no bubbles in water whatsoever, the ice would be clear. The reason it looks white is because there's bubbles in it still before it froze. And obviously at the top of a mountain there is still pressure there. I mean, you'd have to go really, really high before you wouldn't be able to get soluble water anymore. You wouldn't be able to get air into water. It just wouldn't work. And that's why clouds are at a certain height. So, you go on Google Earth and you go so high on Google Earth and all of a sudden the clouds are right down there. You can't even see them anymore. They're tiny because they only work on a certain level. I mean, you have got levels and you have got different clouds on different levels. The jet streams are just the highest ones of those levels of clouds. But above that, clouds won't form. There's not enough pressure. So you can't get them droplets of water to have the air in them. So it just doesn't work. What else can I talk about? Is there any other questions? Because look. I tried to open the link, it won't open. Can you PM me? I don't know what that is. Ether. Oh, I never noticed that before. It's a good one. I've never noticed that. Weather. Ether. Makes sense though. Oh, and the ether is just melanin. That's it. So the ether is melanin. So when they talk about dark matter and dark energy, melanin, just full of shit. What else we got? Yeah, I've read that. But hypnosis is really important. Like, I can't express how important that is. Like, super, massively important. I can't see any more questions. Why every time I scroll it keeps going back to the same ones? Nah, I don't know what link you mean. Mickey Flowers. I don't know what link. Can I pin you? Yeah, I'll try. So what else have we got? Time. I think I've explained time before. So you go on why time increases. Again, it's just a wave. I mean, it's wavelengths of light. So the frequency of light. Obviously, the smaller, the bigger waves, time goes much slower. And as you go up in frequency, the speed of time or the perception of time speeds up. So that's why you get 16.4 billion years in the first stage, and then the last stage is like really where we are now, really quick time. The perception time's unreal. I think 12 hours now is 24. I think it's gone half a day to what it used to be. That's what it feels like to me. I don't know because I've not measured it. But yeah, that's what I think it's like. Hey Sandra. What else can I talk about? Well, I don't want to go on too much about why you shouldn't eat meat. I've covered it quite a bit actually. Again, what you're actually doing is doing the same as what the elite are doing. You're eating flesh. Doesn't matter if it's a baby's flesh or an animal's flesh. Flesh is flesh. And when you're eating it, you've got all the trauma that's stored in the cytoplasm in every single cell. So in the ether of every single cell, or the melanin of every cell, is stored the frequency of fear. And then you just consume that frequency, and that frequency becomes in your Torus. So apart from you shouldn't be eating yourself. Remember, all these animals are sentient beings. They're the same as you. It's man. So it's actually cannibalism. People want to argue, well, what about plants? Well, look, stop eating plants if that's how you feel. But you best have your brain in order to be able to just breathe, to create energy. And if you aren't actually doing the practicing of doing the actual breathing techniques, then I don't know how long you'll last doing that. I just don't. But again, it's how much belief is the most power that any human's got. But it's what you put your belief in. And the problem with the world, everybody believes the ego. They believe the collective ego. They believe what they've been told. And that's the problem with mankind. And everyone will stay fucked if they keep listening to other people. Stop it. They're lying to you. They don't even know they're lying to you. I mean, some people truly believe what they say, but it doesn't make it true. All you got to do is ask them who they are. Who are you? Where do you come from? Why are you here? How were you created? What's the mind? Once you ask these questions, these people won't be able to answer. And you'll see that they're telling lies very quickly. It's not hard to work out. Oh, I know I was going to talk about the plasma event and in the end times. Yes, in my head, you need to get the top of Africa or the end of the Nile. That's where the plasma event is going to be, or the underneath. Basically, you want to be underneath the squatting man. You want to be directly underneath it. I think everything else on the other side of the testicles are going to be destroyed through fire and all the rest of it, right? Literally. So you want to be in the ejaculation, but again, remember this isn't the penis. It isn't ejaculation. I use these words because that's what we use. But remember, there's two kinds of ejaculations. Ejaculate out into an egg or the new earth. That's where the majority of people are going to be going. So the people who've been good and done the right things, they'll go forward and they'll re-enter the egg. All the egos will remain, right? It's not good. You remain on the top, but it's going to continually burn, right? So remember, when the earth first forms, the top part is not where you want to be. You want to be below. So everyone on the top planes, anyway, we won't get into all of that. So there's two places or two directions or two places you can go. You either go to the new earth, or that means you'll probably just remain here and you won't get ejaculated up. Or you get ejaculated up the spine. So not out into the new egg or the new world, up. You want to go up. So this is only for the chosen elect, these old, really, really old souls, the souls I am actually looking for. So the original souls who are really old now, who know what I'm saying, and it'll resonate with them, it'll make sense. Those who I'm talking to. Those people, those souls, they are the chosen. They know who they are because they'll feel it within themselves, and they'll end up doing these things. So the chosen elect will go to the centre before the end times. That's what everybody, like the Great Migration, is going to be forced upon everyone. Everyone is going to start moving around the earth pretty soon when things start to go fucking proper wrong. And it is going to go wrong quickly, really quickly. And it's going to start this year in March. This is where it all goes bad, quick. And people who don't know about the economy's gone. It's done. It's fucked. Even when you look at experts, I use one man who I follow on YouTube. He doesn't know anything about the truth or anything like that, but what he does know about is economy, right? He knows about economy and he follows lots of patterns and he's good with economy. Bless him. He doesn't know the truth. He knows nothing about the truth, but he does know about the economy. And he's saying, he's just done a video a couple of days ago about the American economy, and I think the word or letters is CPI, I'm not sure, but it's interest rates. They've just gone up. And he says, according to their numbers, it's gone up by like 6% or something, or 5%, but it hasn't. It's gone up 12% or 12.5%. It's huge. It's massive. The whole thing's going to collapse very quickly, very soon. And the only reason it's not collapsing is because the Federal Reserve keep dumping money, paper money. They're just dumping it, bang, 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 and they keep putting money into it. Now, can I remember them stories? They were just stories about the German war and how the German economy went tits up, and they had suitcases worth of money. And the story I got told was the suitcase was worth more than all the money that was in it. So people emptied the money out and kept the suitcase. Wow. Well, that story isn't really true. The true story is the Great Depression. That was all over the world, and it's the exact same thing that they're doing here now. It's the exact same pattern. It's happened before. It's nothing new. They know what they're doing, and you're just playing with it like a complete and utter fool. It's all a massive con, and they're doing it to you. And no matter how much you want to change the system or fix the system or beat the system or fight the power and all that, you can't. Not going to work. It's done. You can't change it. It's fucking. It's supposed to go and do what it's doing. It's supposed to do that. And it's to destroy itself. It's the punishment the ego gets for believing in the ego. Again, it's all karma. It's karmic debt. And you will pay the price. I wish people would just see this simple truth. Yeah, that's what I do. Keep printing money. The money lenders. Man. If people knew. Well, the fact that they do know, they still keep doing it. And that's why I have a really hard time with people selling the truth. Personally, my ego has a massive problem with anybody that tries to sell the truth. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you think that your knowledge is worth something, then you're a fucking ego. Knowledge is not worth money. Knowledge is free for any mind. Anyone trying to sell it is ego. And they're still, I need some money. Well, if you're thinking you need money to do it, then you have no faith in the mind. None. You're putting your faith in your ego. And that's wrong. And you'll pay a price. So people need to stop trying to sell the truth. Or, another word. University. Has anyone ever thought of that word before? University. Universe. City. Universe city. Right. Temples. Good God. Right. People didn't have religion. Religion, right? It's a new thing. So people didn't have religion. They just knew the truth. They didn't know to go somewhere to pray and do all these things. Pray. That's not praying. Pray is what an animal does to something else when it's going to kill it. That's pray. So, praying. Temples. What's it called? Parveen Mohan, I think that's his name. An Asian lad who does videos on old Hindu temples. They're not temples. So, what he does, he's quite good, but again, he's missing the full truth. But he is good at what he does. And he will tell you what all the symbols will mean on all these temples. I remember watching his video once, and one of them showed you different levels of what I see and what he saw were two different things. He saw like it was a place to learn, and there was levels. There's probably 9. So there was levels, right? And he says, well, this one down here is like got all animals in, and it looks like it's teaching for kids. And then you go up in levels and you learn these different things from this one temple. And I'm like, but it's not a temple, is it? That would have been a city at one point. And you would have went to the city to learn. So you would have went to the universe city. So the city or these temples were where you went to learn about consciousness. The bottom level, where it had all the animals, first level of consciousness. That's all it was. And then you go up these levels and you've got all these different images and all these things. Remember, art is not a thing. Art is just... Art's supposed to have meaning. There was no artwork on temples, universities, back in the day. It wasn't art. It had meaning. There was nothing that they drew that didn't have a point or a meaning to it. All had meaning. All we do is forget the meanings and go, oh no, it's a pretty statue. But it's not. They've all got meaning. And I can't honestly say I could look at these images and work them out. I needed this other lad to be able to do that. I mean, I don't know anything about Hindu or anything about that religion at all. And I haven't got time to be able to look into it, to be able to do all the patterns. That would take forever, and that would take too long to focus on that. So I do use other people to... I do learn from other people. To say I learn by myself is ridiculous, but I do learn from outside of me. But when I say I don't learn from other people, I'm not learning from the people, I'm learning from the mind. That's how I see it. I'm not learning from these people. The mind showing them, and then the mind showing me through them. And that's why I've watched their videos. The mind controls it all. So yeah, universities, or remember there's one in the Temple of Man. I think there's one in Africa somewhere. The Temple of Man. All these places were where you learned what consciousness was. That's what they were. It was where man went to learn the mysteries of mind. And that's what they were. So universities, yeah, they've kind of lost their meaning now, somewhat. Temples, universities, astrocytes, star forts, yeah, all the same thing. Romans were just men rowing boats around the world. What else have we got? What do we need? I've done the increasing of time. Oh, I should really go back to the atom and destroy the atom even more. The atom's easy, like I say. It's so simple, it's ridiculous. Yeah, there's only certain parts of the atom. Like, no, the atom's simple. It's too easy. It's so simple and ridiculous. It's like I don't even want to talk about it. It kind of pisses us off. Yeah, wrong. But an atom, like you say, an atom's just a bubble of light, really. It's just a torus. But in reality, there's nothing except bubbles of light. That's it. So that's what consciousness is, just light. And you're never here. Your consciousness isn't truly in your vessel. It's below the plane of inertia and it's projected all the time. And you receive those frequencies and signals through your antenna. Your hair is your antenna. That's how you so yeah, if you want, it's just like an aerial. The bigger area you've got, the more you're tuned into. You know what I'm saying? That's not to say that bald people don't receive information. You do actually receive it through your crown. It's what you actually receive it through. It's a vortex. So you receive information through your crown. That's where the blue shift sucks in energy that you can't see. But then you've also got nitrogen. Who's laughing? I see people laughing. Is there any more questions? That was the best explanation why you shouldn't eat meat. Yeah, well, you just shouldn't eat meat. It's you. Eating parts of the body. It's kind of stupid. So why should you eat plants? Okay, well, you go back down to frequencies. You go right to the beginning and go, what's held in the fruit of a plant? Now, people say you shouldn't eat fruits because you're hurting the plant. You're talking shit. Don't be silly. So, okay, we'll use an apple. There's an apple on an apple tree. The apple drops from the apple tree and it grows in the ground below the apple tree. Does anyone see the problem with that? Come summertime, there's a big tree, and it's got a load of leaves on, and below the tree, there's no light. It's in the shade. Why? Because the apple tree's there. So the apple that's dropped doesn't want to be there. It needs to be somewhere else. So what does the tree do? Remember, the tree's conscious and knows what it's doing. Plants aren't stupid. People think plants are... They're not stupid. They know what they're doing, and they're following a life script. So The tree then makes the fruit taste nice for a lot of animals, including man. So what does man do? Oh, I'll pick that and I'll have that one as well. I'll eat this one now, and you'll walk away. Then you'll throw the core. Now that core's where it needs to be. Wherever you put it. That's what it needed to be, where there is no shade so it can grow. So the tree does this enough, it spreads its chances of spreading its seed. So it uses man and lots of other animals to spread it. It hasn't got legs, it hasn't got arms, it can't throw things. So it uses other things to transfer its seeds and spread them. And it rewards you for doing that. Tastes nice, didn't it? So what is held in this, remember, they're all cells, so it's all a torus. So what frequency is stored in the fruit? Okay, fruit, like I said, is blue shift. Fruit is at the very ends of the branches at the top. So the high frequencies, they've got high energy, high frequencies are stored in the cells, in the bottom of the cell, in the torus, in the liquid, in the fluid, in the melanin, the ether. So all those frequencies are stored in the cells of the fruit. Now you get vegetables below the ground or below the plane of inertia, and they've also got frequencies stored in all the cells, in the liquid and the melanin of the vegetable. So when you're consuming that, you're consuming frequencies. That's what you're consuming. You're consuming energy, stored frequencies. So what's stored? Memories. Again, frequencies, brain waves, being stored, or just memories. I'll explain about memories as well and how you store. Oh, okay, we'll do DNA. That's a good topic. So what is DNA? This is... I'll try to keep this as simple as possible. Okay, if you watch the first video, this will make more sense. So how your heart creates energy. So thoughts first. We'll start right at the beginning. Pituitary gland tells the pineal gland something, right? Think something. Right? So you ask a question, you retrieve the answer. But to retrieve the answer, I'll use a memory. Something you've done before, something you've heard of before, something like that. You'll retrieve that memory. That memory will come back. That memory will have a feeling attached to it. An emotion that you were feeling at the time when you first had that thought. So whatever that thought was stored, and then you're retrieving that thought with the memory. So if I think about my mum's death, those memories hold sad memories. So the frequency of sadness is stored in that memory. So if I recall that memory, I will feel the emotion that's attached with that thought. Yeah, are you with us? So how does the memory get stored in the first place? Okay, well, DNA is not what science tells you. Just get rid of all that bullshit of what they tell you DNA is. It's not. It's completely wrong. It's not how it works. Now, you'll also know that the hyperboloid of the torus is like DNA. So we'll just use a simple. So it's like that at the top. Then you got the singularity point, and then I can't do it upside down, and it's an hourglass. Yeah? Or it looks like one part of DNA. So you've got the twist, or that part of the wave at the top, and then the part of the wave at the bottom, and the singularity point in the middle, and then turn it. Yeah, so it's turning. So all the time, the only thing that you're ever storing in your body, every time your heart beats, is a resonance. That resonance is DNA. And how that works is, so let's just say the hyperboloid at the top is a cup, and it's got a hole in it. So it's like an hourglass. Now, depending on how much you fill it up, so you have to understand what the letters of DNA is. So A, T, they're opposite each other. A and T is there. A is on one side, T is on the other. If you put it like that, A would be the positive side of the wave in the lower half of the wave with the plane in the middle. So above there's above there's A and down there's T. Aries and Taurus. Now again, put it sideways. So it's like that. So there's the hyperboloid. So there's measurements of pressure. So how much your heart's going to fill up with pressure. So there's the singularity point, and it builds up with pressure above the firmament. So it builds up with pressure and then it's released. Depending on how much it fills up. So let's say there's a line halfway up the cup or a quarter way up the cup, and there's A there and there's T there. That's Aries That's Taurus. The next one up, ATGC, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So you know how it says the zodiac is the planet divided. So the planet will be in the middle, and then either side of it you're going to have the opposite, the division. So whatever Aries and Taurus is the opposite of, I don't know the planets, I don't look at the images for this. So whatever the division is this making sense? So it's a certain amount of pressure will build up. So Aries and Taurus will be that much. The next one will be that much. If there's that much pressure, that's what's getting stored. If there's that much pressure, that's what gets stored as letters. So AT would be that much, that will get released, that's what gets stored. So when you recall that memory, what you remember is the AT frequency, the resonance. So the whole, remember your whole Taurus is going to be vibrating at any one frequency at any one time. And your heart controls the entire resonance of the whole Taurus. So depending on the size of the hole will determine, so if you're angry, the more angry you are, the smaller that hole will get. You want a wide hole, you don't want it small, you want it wide. If it's a small hole, more energy will build up. So the higher the DNA letters, yeah. If you're open-hearted and you've got a wide hole, there won't be much pressure build up and it'll be released. So the higher the pressure, the more angry the memory or sad the memory will be. So these memories are just simply recording DNA memories. So DNA is just memories. Again, the letters, it's an amount of pressure that's getting released. And that pressure is a resonance. And that resonance is what you remember. So the memories are DNA. So every time you recall something, you're remembering a thought, and then you remember the DNA that's attached to that thought, how much pressure was there, the frequency that was caused by that. And that's what DNA is. It's memories. That's all. Everything else to talk about is bullshit. I mean, I've done posts on this and I do go into more detail, so it might sound a bit complicated the way I've just explained it. That's the best I can do. Oh, I know what I should have done before. Use this to explain the Taurus. I mean, you would have seen this before. I think Santos has used it. That other bloke on YouTube uses it. So, if that's the Taurus, and you've got the plane of inertia, where's my pencil gone? The plane of inertia through the centre. Yeah. So them lines, these lines, are the flux lines of the Torus. That energy is what the science calls an electron. That's all it is, the flux lines. And it'll bulge out a bit there. So the gap in between, you know the gap in between there, that'll bulge out a bit. And the flux lines will be where it goes back in. So like I say, it just goes around the outside like that. But it doesn't sit like this. It sits more like that. It's a squash donut. Everybody who does images of Tauruses does them as a circle, and they're not. That's not the shape of a Taurus. It's a donut shape. It is a donut. I mean, that's the shape of a cell. Just go to Google and Google images of cells, or photos of cells, or cells under a microscope. Otherwise, you'll just get it drawn. You don't want it drawn. You want to see what an actual cell looks like. And then science tells you what's in a cell through drawings. But you yourself look in a cell and see what you can see in the cell. Just using your eyes, logic and common sense, just be honest with yourself. All you can see is different densities of the liquid in a bubble. They just look like bubbles. Dr. Africa, when he describes the brain, and he's got a photograph of the brain, right? So they took a picture inside the brain using a microscope as well. So the brain cells are the size of a car. That's what he says. So when you look at the image, the brain cells will be blown up to the size of a car. And do you know what they look like? Bubbles. He even says they're just like a collection of bubbles. So your brain isn't what you think it is. It is a tube. There is a tube going through your brain, just like your stomach. That tube is what consciousness goes around in the brain. It's the labyrinth of the brain. It is a tube, and you go through it. And that's why you get lost in your head. What was I saying there? The tube consciousness. I forgot what I was saying. But yeah, that's whatever. I've rambled on some. I've went so far and not talked about the atom. Like I say, if you go to the images, of the post that I did before this. There's a post that I did before this, and I actually see on the post these are the images I'll be referring to. If you go to those images, listen to it again, you'll see how it works, and you'll see which images I'm talking about. Yeah, what else is that? God, there's so much. It's much easier when I tell a story, tell a story from start to end. It's much easier. Like this way, it's just trying to remember random things and pull them together, just because it's attached to a certain thought. Has anyone got any more questions? Is there any questions? People watching. Nah, no questions. And I don't want to sign off yet, because as soon as I sign off, I start thinking of loads of other things I could have said. So I'd rather just stay a bit. Rob, what's your thoughts on the inner Earth and the planes underneath Earth? Oh, that's a good one. I watched a video just the other day on a man that was supposed to have went to the inner Earth. Right. Can you get to the inner Earth from our plane? What do you mean by the inner Earth? So, yeah, you've got cave systems. Okay, let's look at it logically. Science calls it cultural layers. Cultural layers. So they say there's a load of soil that's cultural layers, and it just builds up over time. Horse shit. That's not what's happening. So the mud floods and all of that. Okay, think of it another way. Every time that cymatic pattern changes, there'll be massive tsunamis, and the Earth can sink and then rise in other places. But what'll happen is it'll get washed over. And every time the new reality starts, the old reality gets built upon and gets lower and lower, and gets built on and gets built on and gets built on. That's why the pyramids will look like, you think the pyramids at the top. But I'm telling you, the pyramids are not at the top of whatever it was. There will be still something else further down. A lot further down. The cities, everything's built on an old city. So the cities that were built on below, I mean, you see this on when people are doing Tartaria and things like that, and talking about Tartaria, and they'll say how buildings are built on old cities. Well, it just continues. It doesn't stop. They just continue. That's why the Mayan today aren't the original Mayans. The Mayan calendar probably isn't even Mayan. It's Aztecs or something like that. It gets even further back than that. But we'll just attribute to that because we've got no other names. So, I was going to say, yeah. So these places around the Earth, can you get to the inner Earth? Can you get to the North Pole and get to the inner Earth? I would say no, because I'm going to say this. There's got to be. I'm not saying there's not an entrance, but you can only get to the womb or the vagina through the bottom half. So you'd have to go through a redshift to go up through into the vagina. So I don't know how you would do that. That would make no sense. And to go down through it, you'd have to go through the singularity point, which would be the heart. And again, I can't imagine you doing that. The pressure would be unfucking believable. So I can't say how you would do it. But what you could do, the subterranean world, is just a cave system, but that's not the womb. You'd still be on the plane. You just remember the plane's quite dense now. It's just it's dense matter. That's all it is. So the plane of inertia is quite thick. The Russian Kola borehole, or I can't remember what its name is, the deepest hole ever dug. Was it 17 kilometers or 12 kilometers? It isn't far, and it started getting to a liquid. So the deepest hole ever dug on Earth. Google that. See how deep it is. They get to a certain point, they went to a liquid. Well, that's how far down you can go before it get to a fluid again. And then that's just the crust. Remember, the crust's just sitting on the waters. It's just sat there. Yeah? And below that, you get to the singularity point where the black sun is, and it's going to be extremely hot. I mean, think of the sun, right? The sun being projected out. Now, that's just a focal point of light. Now, think of what the black sun's going to be like. It destroys everything. I mean, I can't say how you even get near it. Is it 8 miles? Is that how deep it is? 8 mile deep. Well, that's not very deep. You know what I mean? 8 miles in one direction, then go up and then go down from that 8 miles. It's not deep. I mean, don't get us wrong, I wouldn't like to fall down a hole that's 8 miles deep. You'd be like, when you're at the bottom yet. But the pressure, fuck, the pressure would be unreal. I mean, you get to the bottom of an ocean and you think it's a lot of pressure. I can't imagine, even if it was just air pressure, what it would be like. It would be like something you've not felt before. It wouldn't be hard to move. It would just be air. But yeah, that 8 mile is only going to be down to the plane, and then it'll be liquid again, and it'll be going to be melanin. So it's not going to be like water. Water is I would say it's been distilled. It's you don't get water from melanin. I don't know. Cytoplasm in a cell has to be the melanin, and all I know is it's sticky. It has to be sticky. This is quite simple. I worked this out quite easily. Because when I tried to make the Torus on the lid with a speaker, I tried 3 fluids. I tried water, I tried terps, and then I tried washing up liquid. The water, you turn the tone on, and the liquid just jumped off it. It wasn't sticky. You tried terps, it just jumped off it. Washing up again, because it's sticky, it was able to fall back on itself and create the Torus. So it's simple. We've all done it at some point. Don't get us wrong. I have looked back at my life and went, fuck, what have you done? Once you realise who you are and what you're doing. So all the insects that you've killed in your life, think about them. You think of a life that's ever been squashed or killed, ever, and it was sticky. All life, if you squash it, is sticky. That's the melanin. So water isn't sticky. So there is something else in the cytoplasm that makes it sticky, which we're going to call melanin. So there's something else in it. So water isn't melanin. It's a derivative of it, but it's not pure melanin. I don't know what pure melanin is going to look like, if it's going to be, because in a cell it's clear. It isn't dense, so, or it isn't black. But again, you've got to understand what black and what white light is. Black just simply means black light. Science will say it's the absence of light. And I disagree. I say there's black light and there's white light. And black light is a thing. People just don't think it's a thing. Oh, it's just because it isn't any light. No, it is a light. It's black. So, yeah, if there's no light and you look at something that's translucent, it's black. So, with light, with white light, you'll see that it's translucent, or it becomes translucent. Without that white light, it's black. So yeah, melanin, the ether, that's all it is. Mela is honey in Greek. In Welsh, honey is sticky. Well, think of semen fluid. Seminal fluid, semen. Sticky. So the plasma event, yeah. So the plasma event, we're going to be the Christ, the sperm. The plasma itself will be the seminal fluid. So the plasma is going to be the sticky stuff. And when we raise up, are you going to rise up as a human, like a form? Swimming up. I don't look like a sperm cell, so I can't imagine why you'd be in this vessel. It might just be your brain and spine that just goes. They say I'm trying to work something out that I don't know. I've never been to the end of a cell before and went, oh, what's going to happen next? Or the end of a cell's life and how it works. So you're going to use logic on what you've got. So you can only use the body because that's what it is. That's how it works. So the three fractals that you need to work on and focus on are a cell, the universe. Man's in between that. So a cell is how the universe works, and the universe works the same as a cell. So and obviously the universe is a bit big to look at. So you look at a cell and you work out how a cell works. And once you work out all the parts of the cell, how it works, the universe becomes really simple to work out. And a cell has a lifespan. It's created and it dies. Cell death. That's a thing. So what do you think is going to happen in the universe if it's a cell? It's going to go through cell death, the same as everything else does. People, like I say, people don't want this to be the case. People don't want this to happen. Oh, but we've only got 2 years, Rob. What do you want me to do? It is what it is. I just say what I see, and I can't change the facts, right? And if it's the end of the universe, it's just the end of the universe. You just have to get used to the idea. Realise who you are. That's why I keep saying it's really important for you to start questioning yourself, to realise who you are. Only then will you not feel that, oh, but my kids, oh, but I love this and I love that, and I don't want to die and I'm so scared, I love life. Well, if you think like that, you're fucked, basically, because you're going to just be tortured in the end times. You've got to just get it in your head and accept it. Just like someone's told you you've got cancer and you're going to die and you've got 2 years to live. Just accept it and enjoy the time you've got left by trying to recognise as much as you can about who the fuck you are and why you're here. Because I'm telling you, if you cling to the ego and your ego life, you're not going to enjoy what's coming. You're not going to see the beauty of it. You're not going to see how fantastically great it is. You're not going to see the true awesomeness of it. All you're going to do is shit your fucking pants, and you're going to be in pure fear. You're going to be wanting to try to save things and save people. And this is why I keep saying, look, hey, don't worry about your food, or why just don't eat meat, don't drink alcohol. The 2 biggest no-nos. It's not called spirits for nothing. You change it. Why? Look, you start drinking alcohol, do you not notice you become somebody else? These people who get violent and angry when they're drunk, they become somebody else. That's not them normally, but when they're drunk, they become spirits. Yeah, you're changing your frequency of resonance of your Torus, and then another frequency can enter your Torus, and it'll become you for that short amount of time where you just lower your frequency, right? Alcohol's fermented. It's simple. Alcohol is dead life, yes? And then it's got to die. Anything decaying was high in frequency and it gets lower and lower in frequency, lower in frequency, lower in frequency, right? And then it's dead. Then when it's dead, you can ferment it, getting lower and lower and more acidic and more acidic. And then you drink it. I mean, it's simple. Then that acidity and then low frequencies become yours. You get low in frequency. It's not good. It's not good for you at all. Oh, but what about wine? Right, do what you want. Drink wine, drink alcohol, drink vodka, drink what you want. Kill things, masturbate, do what, I'm not bothered. Right, I'm past all of that. I don't care. Well, don't get us wrong. It sounds like I'm heartless. It's beyond it. I love life so much that I see past the ego. I see it for what it is. And I love that. I love the mind. I love the creator. I love souls. What I can't fucking stand is egos. I don't like egos. Egos have opinions of the truth. The ego doesn't know what it is. The ego is created in a clouded mist. Right? Has everyone heard this? The Sophia and the demiurge? Sophia is the moon. The demiurge is the sun. So the moon created the sun. Yeah, the centrioles separating. The monarch. So Sophia created the demiurge, which is the ego. Right? And the ego was created in a cloud and mist. It didn't know who created it, so it thought it created itself, and it lived as a deity. That's the ego. That's what it does. You believe in yourself so much, you think you give yourself all this power, and you think, yeah, I am this, and you're not. You're the mind. You're so much more than the body. The body's just recyclable, shall we say. Don't be bothered about the body. Don't think about the body. Don't focus on the body. Don't think about, oh, I need to purify my body. No, you don't. You need to purify your mind, and your body will follow suit. It's all about the mind. People go, but Rob, you're too much in your mind. What about love? I'm fucking telling you, it's not. I'm beyond that. I'm well beyond that. Miles beyond that. Why do you think it's going to occur at the end of 2024? Okay, that was because I saw lots and lots and lots of patterns before. Like, I saw the pattern before, I saw the end date before, actually, I saw the end date before I saw all this other stuff. I saw the end first, right? It started after my mum's death. When my mum died, there was a feeling, like I say, there's an emotion that goes with that memory or them thoughts. So during my mum's death process, I had a certain amount of feeling that was resonating through my Torus at that time. Then my mum died. And what should happen is that feeling goes away, yeah? And you don't feel the death around you anymore. You don't feel that frequency of death, because death itself has a resonance. But the thing was, it was about a year later, and I could not work out why I was still feeling like death was surrounding us. And I'm like, and I still got this feeling of death, and I don't know why. My mum's gone. It's not that. I've got over our death. I've worked out where the soul is. Why do I still feel like death surrounding us? And that's when I realised, because at first I thought we had to save the earth. That's what I thought we had to do. I thought we all had to fucking save the earth and do the right thing and all that. And then I realised there's no saving the earth. It's going to die. It's meant to die. And it's just the life. And once you come to terms with these things, that you understand that the frequency I was picking up on was the death process that Gaia was going through. And there's so many things that say it's 2024. There's so many. I remember when I was like, I'll write a post on all the connections, and I couldn't remember them. They were so vague, but because they were miles apart. And me thinking, I never focused on it at any one time. It was like a thought there, a thought there, a thought there, a clue there, a clue here, and they're everywhere. There's too many to mention. Just go to any natal chart. Put in the 25th of December 2024 and look at the pattern. Look at the pattern on the natal chart. When you've got that pattern, look at Vortex Mathematics. In the image you get on Vortex Mathematics, compare the two. Then go to the 21st of December 2024 and see the image that you see in the natal chart. You'll see the square and the cross in the middle, which very much looks like a pyramid. These were clues that I used. Then there was another one. I can't find the website. It was years ago when I seen it. And the lad used to talk really, really, really faster than I do. Right? And I just had to slow the video down to actually take the information on what he was saying. And I usually have speed videos up because I talk too slowly. But I had to slow it down because he was talking too fast. And this lad, I don't know if he was a Jew or if he's Jewish, I don't know. But he knew about the Jewish, the patterns that the Jews were following, and it was numbers and how they follow this number 7. And there's a pattern of 7s. Now, once you know about the wave of 7 hertz, obviously you know about this pattern. But they had done it throughout history. And this lad was showing you the history of this pattern. And everything was happening every 7 years, 70 years, 700 years, and things like that. And this lad had worked out all these patterns, and it went to 2024 in what he was saying. And I'm like, you see, go to, I think it's called, I can't remember the name, Mavstar Laboratories, or I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel. The only YouTube channel that will show you the pole shift of how it works. But again, he's working from a globe Earth. He knows nothing of the truth, but he knows about the pole shift. So you've got to use discernment when you use these channels. Yeah, you've got to take the information and then put it into the one truth. But he shows the dates of the pole shift and the migration of the magnetic pole, and he's got it worked out. And he hasn't got exact times because again he's trying to guess. And a few years ago he said it's going to get to a certain point. The magnetic pole shift, it's going to get to a certain point, and it was 2025 and 2023 or something he had said. It's going to be one of them. And I'm like, it's 2024 in between, isn't it? Right, so there's many, many, many things say that's 2024. Right, many. It might not. I don't want to say it might not be because I don't like go back on a thought. I don't like to question thought because the only time you question is the ego. And I listen to the thoughts and I don't question them. I just listen to them and go, okay, it is that then. Thanks, mind. So 2024 was the date that I've seen. If it's not 2024, then it's not. But it's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely going to happen. And like I say, you're going to see it. It's not going to just be a surprise. Economy has to collapse. The whole system will collapse. You're going to be left on your own before the end. There's going to be no government. Remember, a government's just a group of people. That's all it is. And the governments will disband. What do you think's happening now? I mean, the Prime Minister in England's just full of shit. Everyone knows he's a liar, yet he's still in power. You got every single one. Everyone's just quitting their jobs. Everybody. They're just people. The government's not a thing. It's a fictitious entity. It's just a group of people talking shit. That's it. And they are the upper class. And when the upper class go, okay, I don't want to play this game anymore because there's people who aren't awakened. Now, we remember, there's a lot of people on the earth who aren't awakened, right? Who are still ego, who still will kill, who will hurt because they don't know about karma. And they'll go for the elite. And that'll happen. But you see, I can't stop anybody doing what they're going to do. They're going to do what they're going to do anyway. That's fate. But look, there's people out there who are still going to do this. And what you need to be is be away from these people. So when shit goes wrong, when food runs out, and all hell breaks out on earth, when people will start killing people for food. People will start killing people for water. This is when you've got to go to the wilderness. This is when you've got to fuck off and find your own way. There's going to be no internet, there's going to be no electricity. Near the end, these things are going to happen. You need to sort this out before then, to know the truth, to get to where you need to be, by avoiding all this other shit that's going to be going on. So let's like I say, the Great Migration is going to happen. And you want to move during that time while you still can. If you stay put, fate. And that's what I say anyway. Now, I have babbled on for quite a bit this time. And I did promise myself that I was going to focus and stay focused and not just lose my thoughts. But about 20 minutes before I started, I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to talk about again? I had it all in my head, and it went. And I'm like, because what I needed was the images. I needed people to be able to see the images at the same time, and then I would talk through it. But without the images, what people can see, then, again, I'm just talking. And that's what I didn't want to happen. Like I say, if you don't know the Torus, then I'm just talking. So anyway, I'm going to, I wish I had more structure to it. I certainly do. But it seems like a long one, I think. 1.5 hours. Jesus. How can I talk for so much about nothing? Right. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I hope it makes sense. This is going to become a regular thing. The things I've got in my head, there's so much. I mean, it covers everything you can think of. Think of how many thoughts you can have in 7 days. Sorry, 7 days, in 7 years, focusing on this as a truth. So we're using the Torus as the truth for 7 years, knowing that the universe is a cell. Thinking non-stop. There wasn't a day that didn't work out things. Constantly. Every day in, day out. So for years and years and years. So unlike other people, I mentioned Santos. Santos is a wonderful soul and he's done a lot of work. But unfortunately, the amount of work he's done showing people has took him away from him researching himself. And that's the problem. So I didn't do that. I just continued to share what I saw at that time, and I'd share it, but I wouldn't share the full pattern of what I saw until I had it all. There was absolutely no point in sharing things all the way through and then have to go back on yourself and go, actually, it's not that, it's this. So instead of doing that, you wait till you get the end, and then you share the full pattern, the full truth, all of it, and nothing but it. And that's what I'll do. So, yes, there's many people out there that share the truth, but again, they're just researchers. I don't call myself a researcher at all. The titles I'll claim are God, the Creator, and the One Mind. They are what I claim to be. And you will become whatever you claim to be. So I claim to be these things. I don't claim to be man. Wait, I do. If you know that man means mind, I'll claim to be the mind. I'll claim to be the Creator. I'll claim to be the source. I'll claim to be the truth. And that's it. That's it. I don't claim to be anything else. So, that's what I get. If you claim to be a researcher, you'll just be a researcher. You'll never see it within you. You'll never see it. You won't be shown it until you start telling yourself you are the creator and you need to show yourself what you need to be shown. You need to make these claims. You are what you claim to be. Aim high. Why would you aim for anything less than the creator? Once you know this shit, why would you aim for anything less? Makes no sense. So, this is what I do, this is why I do it, and this is why I've been shown everything I've been shown. I was taken up within myself. I don't generally talk about because people just think you're fucking mental. But it did happen, and I was shown things, and I was shown that this was going to happen. Don't get us wrong, it didn't go, Rob, on June the 21st, you're going to be thinking these things, and this is going to happen. It didn't do that. All I was told by a voice in my head, that wasn't my voice, it was, you know, it was my voice, but it wasn't my voice, it was another voice. I didn't recognise it as my voice, didn't sound like me. It was all mighty and great, and like, if you can imagine what God would sound like if he was shouting at you, it was like that. And it was like this really loud voice that was telling us that I was privileged to be saying what I was saying. And I'm like, well, what the fuck am I saying? I don't know, this is not making sense to me. It's all fucking black and it's a big white light. I don't know what's going on. And I was scared. I didn't know what was happening. I thought I was dead. And I was there for 45 minutes non-stop, and I didn't know what was happening. And this was drug-induced, yes it was. It was illegal high. A synthetic weed is what I had smoked to do this. And all it does, all it done, again, like hypnosis, it put you to sleep. It put you unconscious. That's what it did. And it did instantly. It was like, if you imagine an anaesthetist, that's what it was like. It was like someone just stuck a needle in there, except it wasn't a needle. I just smoked some of this legal weed, and then you just go, boom. Consciousness just felt like you're falling in on yourself. It's terrifying. I was fucking shitting myself. I didn't know what was going on. I was going, whoa, what's going on? And you feel it. You feel heavy, and you feel like you're falling, and you just feel like you're falling so fast. That's the scary part. So you imagine falling from something high. Woof! That's what it felt like. And you get scared, and then you just not here. It was all black. And that's when I was in the mind. I didn't know where I was. So I'm assuming I was either in the singular, well, I thought I was in space. This is before I knew about, there was no space. This happened before I knew any truth. I didn't know. This is what woke us up. It was that happened, and I was told things, and that's when I started finding the truth. After that happened first. I was taken up within myself, and I was shown shit, and I was told that I will know who I am. This was happening, or that was happening, so I would know who I was. And at the time, I'm like, I don't know what's happening, and I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, or who you are, or what you are. I don't know. I didn't say anything because I had no body. I had no mouth. I couldn't speak. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was feel. That was it. And the voice felt very, very powerful, and much more powerful than me. It was huge and loud and bright light, and it was fucking powerful. And you'll bow to it. I'm guaranteeing you. Well, you're all going to meet it. You're all going to meet what I saw. That's going to happen. And when you do, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. At some point in your existence, you're going to meet that same light that I saw, and you're going to see the power of it. Yeah, you'll see. And I think it's going to be during the plasma event. So basically, again, the chosen elect, during the plasma event, aren't going to the new earth. They will not reincarnate, right? You're not. Some will. Lots of people are going to go forward at the new earth. Generally, they're going to be egos, because they've got to reincarnate and go through the whole cycle again. The whole point in it is to race through that at the end, to rise up the spine and go into heaven. You're still going to be a consciousness, but you're not going to be the physical form of a consciousness. You're going to be a higher being. Right, what does that mean? Right, the sun and the moon, the firmament, the prima mobile, are still made of cells. They're still cells. I mean, I've got a pineal gland in my head. What, do you think it's just made of fucking nothingness? No, it's made of cells. Those cells have a consciousness. The ones that rise up go to look, there's no time that a consciousness isn't in servitude. At no point is any consciousness not in servitude. You are always a slave to the mind. There is no point. There's no point that you're not. So even the one mind is in servitude. You'd be like, what's in one mind serving? Everything else. The one mind is serving everything. Every other cell that exists, the one mind's controlling that and serving it and doing things for it. So at no point, including the mind, are you not in servitude. You're always going to be a slave to the mind, and the mind is slave to you. And the reason being is so you can have the experience. But again, when you rise up to the higher mind, for the true elect, the people who are listening, yeah, you, all of you who are taking this in and know this truth within you, you're the elect, the chosen elect. and you will rise up to the higher brain. And when it manifests in the new cell, you're going to become raw. You're going to become a cell. It's not just one cell. Raw is not one cell. It's a collection of cells. People call them the they've got a name for these things in space. I can't think what they call them. And this higher consciousness is in space somewhere. This collection of consciousness. It's not. It's raw, and it's in your head. So raw is a collection of consciousness. So is the moon. So is the firmament. So is the prima mobile. So is all the stars that you see in the firmament. They are all higher consciousness. They represent the higher brain. Now, when you come back, you're going to be one of them. You're going to have a much higher job to do. Much more important than being in physical form, looking after cells on the face of the earth. Much more important than that. And that's what you got to look forward to. So it's having a lot of power and then manifesting things using thought and controlling a lot higher things. It's always a job. You're always going to have a job to do as a consciousness. Or you get stricken from the book of record because you're an utter twat. You're pure evil. And if you're pure evil and you go all the way down and you're wrong, you're going to get deleted. You will get deleted. You will get destroyed and you will get stricken from the book of life. So all these evil fuckers in the world, I think they were doing a good job. And I'm not judging them. They've judged themselves not worthy by being the nth degree of the ego. You'll get stricken. You'll be taken out by Satan. Your bubble will get popped. You're gone. That's the end of you. The reason being, though the elite do have a purpose and serve a purpose as the collective ego, but again, the ego dies at death. The ego stays on it. When my mom died, where was the ego? Did her ego die? No. Well, yeah, it did, but it didn't go with her. The consciousness left. The ego is the vessel, the body. So the body stays. The ego stays. Don't be the ego. You'll destroy yourself. So all these famous people that sold their soul to Satan are fucked. There's no way about it. There's no. You don't have to feel sorry for them or it is what it is. And these people are always going to be there. They do serve a purpose. Again, what's the purpose of the ego? The ego simply convinces the rest of the brain that the ego is real. That's what the ego does. So the elite or the ego convincing the rest of the brain that the ego is real. So you believe in the ego, therefore, thus you believe in the elite. And you think the elite have got power. But they haven't. It's just the ego. The ego's a fucking idiot. And it's going to burn for what it does. Don't just stop judging shit. Stop judging things outside of your own mind. Stop judging people. Stop thinking, oh, them. And even rapists and murderers have got their own karma and you don't need to worry about it, and sending them to fucking jail isn't the answer. That's just a business. That's just a corporation for them to make more fucking money off people's misery. It's not what you do. You don't punish people. They'll punish themselves. Don't worry about it. Stay away from them. Don't go, oh, you're a psychopath. Oh yeah, come in, have a coffee. No, I don't want to be near psychopaths or murderers or anyone else. I don't want to be near any fucking ego. I mean, they're all fucking, they're all nuts. They all believe in themselves far too much. And they'll do a lot of shit because of it. No, fucking winds me up. It seems like I'm judging things and judging people all the time, right? There's a massive, huge difference between a judgment and an observation, right? I just observe what's there. I personally don't give a fuck. Do what you want. I don't care. As long as it doesn't affect my life, I do not care. It's going to happen anyway. If I stop being bothered about it, then I just get that energy and make it mine. Oh, someone's killed someone. That's wrong. I feel sorry for you. Oh, no. No, I feel fucking bad. Fuck that. No. There's enough misery in this world without me put it on me. You're all doing it yourself. Everyone's got karmic debt, including animals and all insects, and every single consciousness on this earth got its own karmic debt to deal with. And I don't feel sorry for it all. If I do, I take on a lot of shit. And I'm not. I refuse to. I used to. And I'm not doing it anymore. No. Deal with it yourself. It's your own shit. Deal with it. And it's going to happen. And everyone's going to have to face the final trumpet at some point, and it will get blown. Right. I think I should sign off now. Run. I don't mean to rant like that, but I am passionate about it, and I really dislike the ego for what it does. Yeah, I fucking can't stand it. It's full on evil. People want to blame evil people. Oh, are you in the army, are you? You got a gun. You got a gun, yeah? You got to go shoot someone. Yeah, you're fucking evil. There's no arguing about it. You can justify it, rationalise it with your fucking ego all you want, but I'm telling you, you're doing the wrong thing. Stop judging. Just please, seriously. Lose the ego. It'll be the death of your soul. I don't know what else to say about it. Yeah, it's fucked. Don't listen to the ego. You've got a very short amount of time to do this. Yeah? Self-hypnosis is how the quickest way to do it. You just tell yourself who you are and you're going to tell yourself to remember. That's the quickest way. Don't do it. Do what you want. Delete me, delete those blockers. Personally, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. I don't care that people don't believe us. That's going to happen as well. So I don't care. It is what it is. But I know there's going to be souls out there that do see the truth and it does resonate with, and that's who I'm talking to. That's who I'm looking for. Fuck the rest of them. They've made their choice. And I haven't got time for that. I'm here for the ones that do want to know and do know, and not for the ones that have got jobs to do and go look after the kids and, oh, let's make a happy family and let's create a fucking commune. Piss off! I'll stop. Seriously, people are so deluded. They're so deluded by the ego. The ego is an extremely powerful deity if you give it power. And it's an extremely weak deity once you take that power away. Take the power back. Stop giving it to the ego. Like I say, it'll be the death of your soul. Anyway, right. I have babbled for quite a bit. I do appreciate you all listening. I do. And thank you for that. I've been wanting to say things for years, but again, I needed the full pattern before I could stand here and talk to egos. Or talk to souls, basically. I needed to. So, yeah, thank you for listening. This is all from the heart. This is not my ego talking. When you converse with me, you're conversing with the one mind. It's the one mind within me that makes me do all this. It's thy will, not my will. My will is not being done. My will, I'll be fucking out on my bike, riding my bike, going trying to find women, having fun and being Rob. Right? But I'm not Rob. I'm Rab. And Rab's a rabbi. And rabbi is the mind and the master. And that's me. That's who I become. So Rob, the flesh is still here. But the mind of Rob, gone, done, ceases to exist. The ego has been shat on. My ego doesn't have any wants. I have needs, but I don't have any wants. I want nothing. That's why I won't sell the truth. I will never ask anyone ever for money. As soon as you do that, you've got no faith in yourself that you're the one mind. When you think that money can do it again, and it can't. So, anyone asking for money? Ego. Anyone selling the truth? For whatever reason? Ego. Because if you knew the truth, you know the end's coming, and you wouldn't be trying to sell it and try to do it. You just go, look, this is really important, you need to do this. And that's what you would do. And you'd do it freely. And you do it with fucking pleasure. That's what you would do. So, I question everybody that sells shit. And I believe nobody that sells shit. Because I know for a fine fact you don't have the answer. And I know you haven't got the answer, because if you did, you wouldn't be selling it. Because that's part of the answer. It's what it is. Right, I'm going to sign off. So, until next time, which I'm not sure when that's going to be, I'll give it a few days, because like I say, I keep struggling. I hate focus, I hate writing down and saying I'm going to talk about this, because then I feel like I'm stuck on that, and when I deviate from it, I'm like, oh, and I start scratching my head and I get lost. Like you saw at the beginning, I just get lost. I like to just flow and talk, and it'll come out what's supposed to come out. So anyway, again, chatting away. I'll sign off. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye.